Going on, fans? Here we are. So decided to do a live preview instead of one of my pre-recorded ones. It's because it's Monday Night Football. Um, for fans who really aren't, into um, Texans and the Ravens, unless you're part of the Ravens fans, the Texans fans, most football fans probably tuning this game out tonight. It doesn't really matter to them. But for the rest of us who are Ravens fans, this is a very crucial game now, especially here on out. For the next 6 weeks, this week included, the Ravens have probably one of the easier schedules going into the last half of the season. But it's not easy by the Ravens standards, just because they seem to make uh, even the most, I want to say, doable task hard. They just find a way to make things difficult. I think as Ravens fans, we always find a way to get ourselves frustrated Sunday to Sunday or Monday or whatever, Thursday, whatever they decide to play. But it's not different from any other year except this. This is definitely, we have seen a progress as far as a digression, real regression of talent when it comes to Joe Flacco. Yeah, there are a lot of Flacco supporters out there that everybody will say that Joe Flacco just doesn't have the talent around him. He just doesn't have the time, doesn't have the quality tools and everything like that. That would make sense if Flacco was a second or first or a rookie quarterback, if second or first year quarterback. He's a 10-year vet now. You can't give any excuses to guys that have been in the league as long as Flacco has been. You can't do that. At this point in his career, he should have figured out, you're a lot of guys. You look at what Brady has. Brady has never had a number one wide receiver besides Randy Moss. That for that one season. Other than that, he's had Danny Amendola, he's had Wes Welker, Troy Brown, of unknown guys no one's ever heard of. You look at the backfield they have: Mike Gillisley, James White. None of these guys would start anywhere else in the NFL, but they fit the system in New England. But Brady realized a long time ago that if um, he needs to focus on his game, and in order for his team to be great, that he needs to be great. And as much as I don't like Brady and everything else like that, the man, you gotta give him credit. The man knows how to win. The man comes out there and plays every week. He gets his team to the playoffs. The benefits playing in one of the easiest divisions in football, the AFC East. But that doesn't stop them, because they come out of the AFC East and they still dominate pretty much every team in the NFL week to week. So here we go again. No matter what happens, now the Patriots, the off defense is not that great this year. So there are no really great teams, minus I think the Philadelphia Eagles on the NFC side. So you look at the AFC side right now. Okay, for playoff position right now, you got the New England Patriots in the East. In the South, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, are taking that spot. You have in the West, I think it's still the Chiefs, but I don't know right now. The Chargers are looking strong and coming on right now. The Chiefs have lost their sixth game out of the sixth is out of seventh game after starting 5-0 in the season. So they look like they may miss the playoffs now at this point. It's wide open. The AFC, like I said, and then you got the AFC North, which is dominated right now by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who barely won against the Green Bay Packers just last night, Sunday Night Football. Only problem is, if you look at how mediocre the league is, for the Baltimore Ravens, their offense is below average. It's been very underwhelming. You looked at what happened last week against Green Bay. With the 5 turnovers the defense had, the Ravens offense was only able to score 10 points. I guarantee you, even with the Chargers where they played against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day, if you give Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, any of those elite quarterbacks, if you give them 5 extra possessions in the opponent's territory, they're going to score more touchdowns than they are kicking field goals. The game is over by halftime. The Ravens had, I think, 2 or 3 turnovers in the first half, and they were only able to score 3 points off of those turnovers. That is unacceptable going forward. I know Ravens fans want to be optimistic and everything else like that. But going into this game tonight, I'm going to need the offense to show up and show out from here on out. This is John Harbaugh's job. This is Marty Morningwig's job. Now, the way things are going, if the Ravens make the playoffs, Harbaugh likely keeps his job at the end of the season. He likely stays on. He likely stays there. Keeps his job at the end of the day. But when it comes to the offense, it's like, well, here we are back to square one. Like, oh, everything worked out. Everything went great. We made the playoffs. Like, oh, this year is not the exception to the it's not the rule. It's the exception to the rule. This is not the norm. Okay, the league will not be as easy. And plus, and people have to realize the reason why the Ravens are in this position right now because of the schedule that they have is because of how bad they were last year. So they got an easier schedule. When you play because of how parity works in the NFL, you get an easier schedule to try to balance out the power. So it gives teams a chance, at least the appearance of a chance, to potentially make the playoffs. So let's say the Ravens make the playoffs this year, right? Make the playoffs. They have a lower seed in the draft. They get knocked out in the first, second round. We know this team, unless this offense changes tonight and on to the rest of the season like they did in 2012, unless they get on a run, get on a roll, and figure things out, this offense is not going to do well in the playoffs, especially if they got to meet the Jaguars again. They got to play the Patriots, teams like that. So, and the Steelers, they're just not going to do well. And you look at the Steelers, what they struggled against the Colts, they struggled against the Packers. There's no guarantee that the Ravens, the only loss they'll get out of this stretch is maybe the Steelers. They could lose to the Colts, who could look to play spoiler. It's one of those things where the Ravens are, if they lose out or they lose too many games or they don't make the playoffs this season, heads are going to roll because of how easy their schedule is now wound up with injuries and just the teams left on a schedule. If they do make it, though, like I said, a lot of Ravens fans fear that Steve Bisciotti and them are just going to hold serve and just keep doing what they've been doing and keep Harbaugh on and not get rid of him. It's just a lot of things. But to the game real quick. The game tonight, they got the interesting matchups are going to be I wrote in my article on athleteshub.com. Check it out. The key matchups tonight are definitely going to be Tom Savage and that Ravens defense, Jimmy Smith versus DeAndre Hopkins, and Joe Flacco and that offensive line against Jadeveon Clowney and that front four of the Houston Texans. This is going to be very interesting tonight. Here we are with Flacco, had an opportunity last week to show out because of how bad that Packers defense was. Plenty of opportunities to set in Packers territory to score touchdowns, and they didn't do it. And here we go again. We're going to have opportunities with a bad quarterback. Now, Brett Hundley, like he did last night, he showed up and showed out last night. I guess he didn't want to get embarrassed 2 nights in a row. But in this situation here with Joe Flacco, we got Tom Savage on the other side of the football, the Texans quarterback, signal caller, and the Ravens defense coming off a 5 turnover performance. I think they got 4 sacks or 5 sacks. I think you got 2 from Terrell Suggs. You got 2 from Willie Henry. I'm sorry, it was 3 and 6 sacks and 2 from Matthew Judon. They were rolling in and rolling out. I mean, they were hitting Brian Henley everywhere you could imagine. But the only problem is, I think, for the Ravens is at this point in the season, is their quarterback's got to carry you. The quarterback has got to carry you. See what's happening in Dallas right now with Dak Prescott. They lose Ezekiel Elliott. Everybody else is still there. They lose Ezekiel Elliott, and everything is now falling apart. Everything's falling apart now. I understand Ezekiel Elliott is a star of running back, but you would expect the quarterback to be able to hold serve and look redeemable, in games like this. But that's where the Cowboys are right now. Same thing with the Ravens. The Ravens are in a situation right now where they paid the guy Joe Flacco a lot of money to be something that he's not. And they were pigeonholed to a corner. They were like, look, there's no one in the market we're worth getting. Do we really want to try this over again? Like right now, there's no one really out there for us where we can grab right now. And so they paid him the money. Now they're feeling the effects of it, the cap space. He's taking up a lot of cap space right now. They can't build their offensive line. They can't build any offensive talent around him because they don't stay long enough. They haven't drafted, especially last year. They didn't draft pretty much at all on offense. Everything was for defense. So they didn't get any help for Flacco. Like I said, he's got to be able to start. I don't think it's going to happen now. He's a 10-year vet going on 11 years going in next year. If he hasn't learned now how to do a 2-minute drill, if he hasn't learned how to call audibles, run a 4-minute drill, 4-minute offense, if he didn't learn any of that stuff. Everybody, a lot of even Pitt has said it, I think, that he's a sight thrower. If his first guy isn't open, he's just checking it down to Danny Woodhead or Alex Collins or whoever's catching the football. That's his go-to. That guy, first guy isn't open, that's it. There could be other guys running open around the field, but if he's looking at that one guy and that's it, I don't know what to tell you. Now, fans will come out and say, like, oh, well, Flacco, he doesn't have the protection, doesn't have the talent. And I was like, look on paper. Look at Mike Wallace and Jerry Maclin. Let's remember that these two guys both were 1,000-yard receivers. So there's some talent there. You have Benjamin Watson, Max Williams there. There's some talent there. Alex Collins has come on now being a feature back in this offense. So I don't want to hear any excuse that we don't have talent. You're just not using the talent the way they're supposed to use it. The Bashar Perriman experiment, I don't know how much longer that's going to go. I think Chris Moore's going to take the majority of his snaps. But that appears to be a bust now. But when you pay a quarterback that kind of money, you have to build your team through the draft. And when you miss, or when your quarterback can't help develop set wide receivers or tight ends or whatever, and build a rapport with these guys and get them on one page, it's going really hard to be successful. That's the whole point, is that you build your team through the draft. The Ravens don't have that kind of pull. Ravens don't have that. So Baltimore is a mid-market city. You don't have that kind of pull to bring in a lot of talent all the time. So you got to be able to draft well. Okay, Ozzie knows how to do a couple things right. He knows how to do defense well. He knows how to draft running backs pretty good. Tight ends for the most part, not wide receivers. You were able to get away with that years ago, but in this era of football, you gotta be able to have that wide receiver. You gotta be able to have that deep threat. You gotta have that guy that can stretch the field the way Antonio Brown did last night. Catching the one catch he made on the sideline, they pretty much put the team in range and then kick a field goal to win the football game. You got to have playmakers on the field. And the Ravens have not hit on young wide receivers. They've had to always go through the free agent pool, pulling the Derek Masons and Anquan Boldens and Steve Smiths, who are at over 30 years old, to come in and play football. But it would be great if you could have a guy come in at 21, 22 years old and build and learn and grow with the team and become a superstar. It'd be nice to have that one day. But I think as long as Flacco is quarterback for this Ravens football team, that's not going to happen. So going in tonight, I expect them to run the football a lot more. I expect them to run it's going to be a more pass-heavy, more run-heavy game. It's going to be tonight. It's going to be a little cold out there. They're playing outside. They're going to have the elements that the Texans aren't used to. They're not playing in their dome tonight. I think the defense is going to come out. They're wearing their all-black jerseys tonight as well. So, they're going to show up. I think the defense is looking for another shutout. They got 3 shutouts already, something that hasn't been done since the 2003 Patriots. So, the defense is having fun right now. You can see it last week. I think they've reached a peak right now. They're feeling good about themselves. They're healthy. They're loving life right now. Offense, on the other hand, struggling. I'm pretty sure Mike Wallace, I know he was glad to get that touchdown. But the offensive guys are like, look, man, I'm not getting my spot. If you're an offensive guy in the free agency and you like, look, man, I need to go somewhere I can get these points, somewhere I can get these stats up, somewhere I can get this money. You're not going to Baltimore with Flacco at quarterback. That's just not happening because we're not going to be on the field that long. I'm not going to be able to get any throws because he's not going to look my way. If I'm not the guy he throws to initially, he's not going to look my way to throw the football anyway. So what's the point? So that's where the Ravens are right now. So tonight, I think, what the keys for the game is, I think a guy like Flacco rip it tonight. You gotta find out what Flacco has left in the tank at this point. You gotta see what you got. You gotta let Flacco rip it. I think you can take some chances against this with this Texans offense is that Tom Savage at quarterback. I think you can take some chances um, with the Ravens, and maybe bad territory and things like that. But allowing Flacco to try to give him some confidence throwing the ball down the field, making big plays, throwing guys open, something. You got to find a way to get him going before they hit that Steelers game in a couple of weeks. You got to find a way to get that man going. So I think they let it rip tonight, but I also think that if it doesn't work, I do believe they'll just tone it back and start running the football again and go back to what they're used to doing and try and maybe relying on the defense to get them in position to score points. My prediction for this game, I think I said the Ravens 20, the Texans 6. I don't believe they're going to score any touchdowns tonight. I didn't say 0 only because it's just, as bad as teams are, it's really hard to pitch a shutout in pro sports, period, especially in the NFL. So I just said 20-6 for the Ravens. Now I'd like to be surprised. I'd like to be surprised if Flacco throw over 300 and something yards and 3 touchdowns. I would love to see that going forward, but who knows at this point? That's for another day. But that's my little spiel right now. And thanks for watching. And hope the Ravens pull one out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.